Okay, Mike Merlin means here with the final dregs of Merlin Public Media, talking shit with Merlin. I'm enjoying doing this again. I pissed off a couple of people because I'm not doing the other shows, but well, fuck them. So tonight, talking shit with Merlin, and with me is
Andy Hogan.
What's going on, Andy Hogan?
Not a ton. Kind of in a slow slump here. The theater season is over, so I'm not doing much anything with them. Although this weekend we're clearing out our storage unit, moving it all into Suddenlink Center. So,
What, y'all got like 3 rooms up there now or something?
yes, we were donated a third room by the city. So,
woo, nice.
That's very nice. Yeah, it is. You were up there. You remember the ladies that had a moving service?
Yeah, that's what they called it.
Yeah. Anyway, that is that room, that office room. So
there was much concern that was more of a residence than anything else.
Well, they never really said what they were moving. Okay, so
that's true. That's true. They didn't.
But yeah, it was an odd situation for sure. So, but anyway, he gives us 3 rooms pretty closely. So that room is going to be reserved primarily for rehearsals.
Okay.
The room where we've had all of our tech equipment and stuff is going to have most of the technical equipment and will be used for builds for construction.
Mm-hmm.
And the room across the way where we have been having meetings and rehearsals and stuff like that is going to become storage for props and costumes.
Okay.
And some of the tech equipment. But there's going to be enough. There's going to be enough floor space left in that room that we can rehearse. Hopefully, we'll be able to rehearse at least 2 shows at a time without stepping on everybody's feet.
That'd be really nice.
Yeah, it's a big step.
Yeah. So any word on next season, or is that still hush?
Next season is set, and it's up on the website if you want to look at the shows. There's not a lot of information about the shows themselves, but the titles are up there. The first show out of the box in September is going to be the first Ghostlight show of the season, the Children's Theater, and it is Anne of Green Gables.
Really?
Yep. And then the next one is in October, and that's one I'm directing. That is 12 Angry Jurors.
That rings a bell.
Well, I'll show you one of the books. This is the 12 Angry Women version of it.
Okay.
And there's another black book that's 12 Angry Men. So, which is the 12 Angry Men book is, I haven't tried to sit down and compare them literally, but it's so close to the original movie that aired on TV quite a long time ago. That it's that story. There's no question about it. It's that story.
Okay, cool.
The 12 Angry Women was just an adaptation to put women in the jury instead of men. And they do change a few things. Like there's one of the jurors is knitting throughout the entire process. Well,
Okay.
But to do 12 Angry Jurors, you simply buy books of both types.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have as many men and as many women as you want. So I'm kind of hoping to come somewhat close to a 50-50 mix. But the makeup of the group is such that we have many fewer male actors than we have women. So we're probably going to wind up with more women on the jury than men.
That's been the case since day one almost.
Well, yeah, it has. It really has. So this is a very large cast for our theater. It's 13 live roles up on stage. And 2 offstage or voice only parts that will probably be recorded. So that's a total of 15 plus all the backstage crew and the director, me, and stuff like that. So
Okay,
It's
so
gonna be
if
a
you
pretty
got
good show.
12 jurors, what's the other live? Is that a judge or?
No, the judge is one of the offstage voices.
Okay,
The other live on stage part is the guard or the bailiff, if you want to think of them that way.
okay.
The officer of the court that escorts the jurors in, brings in exhibits for them to look at, things like
So no lawyers.
that. No lawyers, nope, nope. There's no actual courtroom scene. The entire thing takes place in the jury room as they're
Oh,
debating the case.
okay.
So
I remember hearing or seeing the movie, but it's been quite a long time.
yeah, yeah. Well, for those that have AMC channel available to them, it's been airing occasionally on AMC lately, and I've got it recorded for my own viewing here at home.
Mhm.
But uh, it's it's an excellent story. There's no question about that. It's all drama though, and that's a little bit unusual for us. We usually do when we do dramas, we tend to use dramas that have some comedy mixed
Yeah,
into them and some funny parts. This one, there's nothing really funny about this. So
I'll have to go see if I can find it and give it a watch. So what's the
yeah,
rest of the
yeah.
season look like?
Oh, the rest of the season. Oh yeah, we have that. In December we have a show called Not a Creature Was Stirring, Not Even a Moose.
Oh, jeez.
So you can imagine what that's a bit like. Uh,
Okay, all right.
then there is another Ghostlight show, and I think that title is still in flux, so I'm not going to tell you what the title is. And then another another Pat Cook play that is called Barbecuing Hamlet, or Barbecuing Hamlet, I believe. So it's a one of these comedies about a theater troupe that's trying to put together a production of a Shakespeare show and all the many things that can go wrong doing that.
Isn't that like barbecuing the Scottish play?
It's something like that, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm just intrigued by the title artwork for it, which is a picture of a person in Shakespearean style garb holding at a barbecue,
Yeah.
barbecuing something, and on the barbecue is a skull, like from the Four Yorks scene. So,
Okay.
um,
That would have been enough to grab my attention enough for at least a read.
yeah, I'm definitely going to look at that show myself. And then close out the season with another show, and I'm having trouble remembering the title right now,
Okay.
but it's a ways down the road. So
And
uh,
when do the seasons open up again?
uh, the in September, I can't remember the second week of the end of September will be the Ghostlight production of Annie Green Gables.
That's not a musical
And
version of it, is it?
no, that's not a
Okay.
musical.
Okay. Just,
Their musical will be in the spring. I think that's the debate that's going on is what they're going to be doing there.
okay. So
So,
what else is happening in your piece of the world?
well, I just had the joy of paying my second half taxes on the house.
Well, that's always fun, huh?
Yeah, no, but
Yeah.
yeah, that fun. It was nice that I was able to do it.
That's always
Um,
nice.
I had a little health hiccup, and
Yeah, just a bit.
that is going swimmingly. That's really good news. I'm in good shape there. Everything is fine right now, and I'm not seeing doctors every 2 or 3 weeks to make sure I'm still alive. So that's down to regular 6 month visits.
That's nice.
Yeah, I feel very good about that. And I've lost since that hiccup, I have lost approximately. I hate doing it. Approximately almost 30 pounds.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That
And
hasn't been that long
I'm,
ago.
huh?
That hasn't been that long
No,
ago.
it was almost 2 months now, but
Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, it's a lot of weight to lose in that amount of time, and I'm kind of tapering off the harsh parts of the diet and exercise, but that's all it's been. I just got a lot of bad stuff out of my diet, and I started walking a couple miles a day, and it's been coming off nicely. So
I don't know if you saw, but I just had the last checkup with my pulmonologist about my shit.
I did see that, and I saw you answer one question and said, "Well, I can't say there was good news, but there's a plan." So
Yeah,
that's
well,
actually good news, Mike, when there's a plan.
okay,
When they give
it's
up and there's not a plan anymore, that's bad news.
that is bad news. But yeah, so I have sleep apnea, and the first hour of testing I had 32 episodes where I stopped breathing.
Yeah, yeah,
Granted,
I
they were
believe
short,
that. Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
they usually are.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that they usually are short stoppages, but they're still damn bad for your health.
Yeah, and it's like, why am I always tired? Oh yeah, no freaking REM sleep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Duh. Yeah, but they put the test CPAP on me, and it brought it down to 2 an hour, which is like common for almost everybody. 2 an hour is whatever it happens when you're asleep.
Well,
So
two times an hour coming out of REM sleep is not unusual at all.
no, it's really not. But so I'm supposed to get a CPAP here, and that's when the insurance gets to it.
Right, right. I will tell you, I've been suffering with sleep apnea for a long time also, and I can tell you that the difference in your sleep quality is literally night and day. I mean,
No pun intended, of
uh,
course.
no pun intended, because you can use the CPAP during the day if you like. Uh, but it really, you will, after things get settled in and everything, you'll feel wonderful. Um,
That's
have have you has your doctor given you the prescription and ordered the CPAP or sent it to
yes.
anybody? Okay. Have you talked to them about the mask, the what you hook up to?
No, from what they said is that the delivery person will talk me through all of that and dial in the script that he wants me to have it set on.
Right, right. Yeah, they'll set the pressure and everything for you. But I I would advise you, from my own experience, to try to get a nasal pillow arrangement. I heard you on a previous Talkin Shit
Yeah.
talking about nasal pillows versus masks.
Uh-huh.
And for a person with a full beard, the mask will not work. I only had a beard for a short period of time when I was when I've been using CPAP, and it just creates too many leaks.
Yeah.
It it can't really seal because it depends on being on the skin
Mm-hmm.
to seal. It gets around my mustache. That's not a problem. But even though I don't have a full beard, I'll probably go back to the nasal pillows as soon as I can justify getting a new piece of equipment, a new mask
Mm-hmm.
for the one that I've got, because I found them to be great. The only problem is you have to get one that fits into your nostrils comfortably and securely.
Mm.
But much less interference with your head, much less junk all
Yeah.
around your face. And with the beard, you're gonna almost. I'd be a little surprised if your installation tech didn't say, "Oh, you need nasal pillows." Just
That wouldn't bother me in the least because when I was getting ready for the sleep study, one of
yeah.
my friends is like, "You're gonna have to shave off your beard," and one he's like, "Oh hell no, no." So I called, and they're like, "No, you'll be fine." I'm like, "No, I got a full beard. It's like down my chest," and they're like, "You'll be fine."
Yeah.
So
I shouldn't say that they won't work. I found during that period when I had the beard that it worked, but much more often when I rolled over, it would start to leak, and I'd have to literally wake up, readjust it, and get back
yeah,
to sleeping. And that's
just
almost
one more pain in
self-defeating.
the ass.
You know, unless you're one of those rare people that fall asleep and stay in one position all night long.
No,
Yeah,
nope.
you're going to experience that. So.
Hmm.
I mean, I even have a problem with it with the setup I have right now. Just roll over, and there's just enough drag on the hose or whatever that it pulls the mask aside. And, oh God, I got to do this again. So,
Well, we'll see what they
anyway,
do. I would think that the smaller one would be less expensive now that I've given it some thought.
I don't know if it makes a lot of difference. They use the same materials and the same kind of the design technology to make them seal up and everything. So
Hmm.
uh, you know how it is with molded
Yeah,
plastic type stuff. Really doesn't matter how much plastic's in there. It's all the effort that goes into the design and then
yeah,
the packaging and distribution and all that. That's where all the cost
yeah.
is. And the plastic is like this much. So I don't know how that'll work out. But,
Well, I'll see what they send me, and then I'll talk to him about the other. But my
yeah,
doctor understands insurance company. He's like, okay, I want to see you in 3 months. I'm like,
yeah,
okay. He goes, on the condition that you've had the CPAP for 1 month.
yeah.
If you
Because
haven't
it may
had it
take
for
a
a
little
month,
time.
call and move the appointment.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
Well,
okay,
that's like my I won't need to see you again for 6 months from my doctor. Um, it says unless it starts to go bad again.
oh, duh,
so
yeah. I mean,
so I have to run a blood pressure and pulse check twice a day, every day, and if it starts to get erratic on me again, call immediately and say screw that 6 month date. We need to see each other now.
uh-huh. So you
And
can see a local doctor for these follow-ups, or
yeah, yeah, yeah. All of the follow-ups have been local.
that's good.
Once they kicked me out of Phoenix, it's all been local work. So
And it's hard to get kicked out of Phoenix. I mean, they'll take anybody.
actually, one of the doctors was trying to get me out at least a full day, if not more than that, before I was actually discharged.
Hmm.
Uh, the question was amongst the team of doctors looking at me was, you know, okay, it's my blood pressure is down and it seems fairly stable, but I'd like to see it go down a little further before we get rid of them because so there was actually some back and forth between the doctors before they all finally agreed. All right, it's down, it's stable, 71. And that was actually a good decision because I went down like another 10 points after I got home.
Well, and yeah, that
It's just the
you get into
uncomfort,
your
stress of
exactly that whole
so,
comfort zone thing.
yeah, exactly. So, but it's been wonderful. It's not like every reading is the same day after day, of course, but
No,
it's all been well within your good range. Nothing dangerous. So.
I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, it's hear me. There's a lot of people happy to hear that, none more than I.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
Juanita is happy with all of my news, but she's not as happy as I am. No.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think I had a very much compressed version of what you've been living through, where you're you're literally conscious of the possibility of it all ending,
Oh yeah.
right? And for me, it was kind of like a big slap in the face. Hey, shit, come on!
Yeah.
You got problems on one side of my family tree, and you're overweight. You're not getting any exercise. You're being an idiot. So, okay, you haven't been listening to us. We're going to show you you've been an idiot.
Wake
And
up.
bring you right up to that gate, buddy.
Yeah,
So, yeah, that was not a pleasant experience, and one I want to put off for as long as I can. So,
no doubt. And look, if you need an exercise program, we
I'm
garden.
just walking.
We
So what?
garden. We garden.
Really?
Gardening in the desert
Well,
is all the exercise you should need.
I'll bet. I'll bet.
Well,
Honestly, I've got a good walking track around here, basically. Um, and I initially measured out a 2 mile walk, which was pretty good. And as I've been losing weight, of course, it tends to slow down because, it's just that much walking isn't as effective because I'm not lugging as much weight around anymore. So I've extended it. I've added a couple of extensions to it. I haven't actually measured it out again, but it's probably verging on, it's over 2.5 for sure, and verging on 3. So
that's nice.
that once a day is a pretty decent amount of exercise. And then I'm planning when I get down at or below the magic number of 200 pounds,
Mm.
I'm planning to actually start adding some muscle weight on
Okay.
my upper body so that I balance out the body mass index and the components of it better than I ever have. I've never had a real strong upper body, so I'm going to go to work on that. So that should help too.
Well, and they told me, which I'm still wrapping my head around, once I'm sleeping and breathing correctly, that I'll lose weight.
That has probably helped, yeah. But
And
I was sleeping and breathing correctly before I had my blow up. So
well, he said you something about a lack of energy due to a lack of sleep causing a carb craving, which Juanita's been bitching about my carb cravings for about 2 years now. Oh, look, a cookie. Wait, there's the rest of the box.
yeah, yeah. No,
Now,
I know that. And it's been a tough adjustment for me because I used to be in the mode where I literally, if I had to go out and go to a play rehearsal or run any kind of errand outside, go to the hardware store, anything, I could not do that without stopping somewhere and getting a snack.
oh, okay.
It was almost automatic. You go out, you spend $3 or $4 on snacks, and a lot of those snacks were in the ilk of donuts.
Okay. The less than healthy category.
Definitely the less than healthy category. The healthy snacks I got were things like chicken wings.
Whoa.
Which,
and that's not that healthy to start with.
no. So getting rid of table salt and sweets has been a huge dietary change for me just all by myself. And then substituting pure carbs with better carbs or better sources of carbs like vegetables instead of rice. That's been a change too. But I will say my wife is being very supportive. She had a craving and insisted on making potato salad. So I said, okay, fine, but would you please make it very, very, very plain, and then we'll divide it in half, and you can finish yours your way, and I'll finish mine in a non-salty, not so bad way. And so we've got 2 containers in the fridge, and I had, my potato salad, her potato salad. So
you got to do what you got to do, man. I
yeah,
mean,
but like I say, she's been helpful that way. She's not insisting on having everything the same way it used to be. So that's good. So.
well, and one has been like, I've been kicking you in the middle of the night just to get you to start breathing again. I'm like, it's not waking me up. She goes, I got to kick you harder.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had that conversation with you too. Push me out of bed if you must.
Yeah, get me going.
Great. The interesting thing is looking back on it. My younger sister is on CPAP also, so is one of my older brothers. And we were talking about it last time we were together, which was a couple of 3 years ago. And I mentioned this, and I said, "You all realize that the dad had sleep apnea also?" And they just, it was like this moment of, oh my God, on their faces,
Mm,
because he usually, if you walk by their bedroom at night, you could hear him, snore, snore, snore,
yeah, yeah.
you know. But back then, they had no idea what sleep apnea was. It wasn't diagnosed. Nobody
No,
knew anything about it. They just thought that was the way some men snored. And so, but it was just like this light bulb going on in my siblings' heads. My God, you're right. Dad was in that. So interesting things that you find out and look back on. So
yeah. Dad was a snorer, big time.
yeah,
Never, yeah, just old guys snore. Okay, that's just the way it goes. But, oh, wait, there's a problem here.
yeah, yeah. Well, I used to at one time, few decades ago. I and a friend of mine used to put together uh, long trips, or even like 5 day trips. We all live in the Minneapolis area, and we travel up to the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. Do you know where that is? Or what it is?
No idea.
Okay, it's a dedicated wilderness set aside by the U.S. and Canadian governments, because it extends from the northern edge of Minnesota across the lake waters up into Canada.
Okay.
And it's a true wilderness. You're not allowed to use any motorized vehicles there. You're not allowed to use any, even a small electric motor you can't use. You have to bring or rent canoes, go in there, or kayaks these days. Some people kayak it. And you go from point to point, crossing lakes, sometimes crossing rivers. And there are very primitive campsites set up. Most of them have a pit toilet,
Hmm.
but that's it. That's all the amenities. No picnic tables, nothing like that. You're on your own.
Nice.
And you have to bring all your equipment and your food in particular in some sort of a pack or package that you can string up in a tree,
Right.
because there are bears
Hmm.
and they will find your food and you
Yes.
if necessary. So it's a beautiful place to visit. It's just gorgeous. The nighttime sky is beautifully clear
Mm.
usually, unless it's raining. Um, and it's quiet. You can bring a cell phone with you if you like, but guaranteed, you know,
No service.
20 minutes into your actual trip, after you get out of the car and everything, it's going to be useless. Um, that you can set. I mean, the night sky is so clear that you're almost guaranteed to be able to watch a satellite cross the sky
Mm.
if you look up satellite tracing information and stuff
Hmm.
like that. And northern lights, yes, you can see the northern lights there when they're active, stuff like that.
That I've not yet
Beautiful,
seen.
beautiful, beautiful, quiet area. You've got to be tough. I mean, it's you walk, and the trips that we took, we probably hiked 20 to 30 miles a day, and we were carrying backpacks and canoes. That whole way. So
Yeah.
not a light deal. But then you read up on what like the traders did way back in the days when people were out there, trapping beaver and stuff like that, and then carting that out to the trading posts. You know, what we're carrying today for a canoe is, you know, a tenth of what they were carrying.
Oh, sure.
So it was pretty amazing, but it was a wonderful, wonderful place to go. So how did I get off on that?
I have no idea.
Oh,
And I
oh,
don't care.
the group that I went up with, after the first two times we went up, they exiled me from the tent, and I had to get a string hammock and a little shelter thing that I could attach to it and sleep outside, and you know, fairly well away from the tents because of my snoring.
Oh, geez. Banished for snoring.
I had people waking up or starting the day off and telling me that they hadn't gotten a lick of sleep because I've been snoring. So they put me outside and they called me the bear repellent because the bears wouldn't come into camp with something that noisy in camp already.
Well, see, there's a purpose for everything.
Yeah. So actually, it was pretty good because I could sling myself up. The hammock plus the sleeping bag was very comfortable and warm and everything. And the overhead part was netting to keep the mosquitoes from killing me,
Yes.
draining me dry during the night. But I was I could sling the hammock with my head raised and my feet a little lower. So I was like super comfortable. It was a wonderful sleeping position. And, but I still snored.
I've slept elevated since early childhood.
Yeah, that
Well,
will not change. You'll still want to do that.
all right. Well, I've had breathing problems since I was like 4.
Yeah.
So, and I guess this is the culmination of all of that. I thought it was the IPF, and I'm happy it's this. Yeah, I'll trade you. I'll take that.
Yeah, it's much better. You might have a path forward now.
Pardon me?
That would be one. I said you should have a path forward now, and that would be wonderful.
It's this, like I said, with what everyone's telling me, once I have this done, yes, forward will be easy. So, you know, we played that great game of waiting for the insurance company, and like the day they're, you know, okay, we've got your prescription. I'll be home today. Come and deliver it.
Yeah.
I'm home now.
Yeah.
I'll stay home until you get here. We won't be there on Thursday. That's fine. I'll wait.
Yeah. There's all that to go through. And I will say that I've been very happy so far with how my insurance has taken care of all the huge bills from the hospitals and the doctors.
Oh, that had to be massive.
Yeah. Between the two hospitals and the ICU stay and all that, trending towards $50,000. So, yeah, of which so far I have been notified of only. I know there's a $250 bill coming. That's for air ambulance service.
That's it.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons I have the Social Security Part C policy that I have is because it caps all ambulance travel at $250 per trip, whether it's ground or air.
Whoa.
And in this area,
yeah, it's air.
You know, it's likely to be air.
Oh yeah.
So actually, if I had gone to Las Vegas instead of Phoenix, it would have been ground. But Las Vegas is only an hour trip from here. Phoenix is a 5+ hour trip.
Yeah.
By ground. So they said, no, well, if it's Phoenix, it has to be by air. That's okay. It's actually going to cost me the same amount. So,
and who gets to say that shit? I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's a fantastic coverage on this insurance. And then I just got a text or email today from Banner Hospital saying, we hate to do this to you, but you owe us another $160. So I'll have to run that past the insurance company first and see if they're going to say, No, you don't. We'll call Banner and let them know. Uh,
But still,
which
I
is
mean,
something,
160 bucks.
insurance companies do for it. But yeah, to stay in a hospital and ICU for a day and 3 days in a room and come out with $160 bill.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm
Yeah,
good.
okay. I'm not worried about paying it. I just don't want to pay it if the insurance says no, they're trying to screw you there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, insurance companies have a department that does that, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I learned that some time ago when we say when the insurance company says okay, it's all settled, and then the provider comes back and says, oh, it's this much more because the insurance didn't cover it. The first thing you do is call the insurance company's legal department and say, these guys are saying I owe them more. Oh, we'll talk to them. But the insurance companies have the hammer of saying, okay, it will, you can force him to pay this amount, and we'll just drop you from our insurance program. And they say, oh well, wait a minute, maybe that 160 isn't that important.
It really isn't when it comes down to that.
Yes. So, but they always got to try.
Well, you can't respect them as an American business if they're not trying to rip your ass off.
Well, I don't know.
There's not many exceptions.
Well, I don't know about you. Okay. Hopefully you don't fit into that category. When I was running my own business, I never tried to screw people.
No, I haven't either, but just, I'm talking
I
big
charge
business.
them. I charge them what I thought my competitors would charge them, and if they found a competitor that was lower, I said, well, I guess I don't do it then. But
That I've done. This is my
but,
price.
but I agree. When you get into big companies, it really is. Can't we get an extra $1,000 out of that?
Well, did I tell you about my visit to Colorado River Eye Care down there by Wally World?
Did you or didn't you?
I don't know.
I don't recall. So
I went down there for an eye exam. I'm gonna get glasses. I can't see shit.
yeah.
He looks at my eyes and he's like, "You've got cataracts." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. The last guy told me that." He said, "I don't have to worry about it for another 2 or 3 years." And he said, "You have to worry about it last year." Um, to the point that, and this is one of those, the doctor owns and operates a franchise.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell you glasses. They'll only be with you for a couple of months. Then you'll have to get a new set of glasses, if any.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He could have made $300 on me in glasses, and he doesn't. So I'm like telling anybody who will listen about this guy, because that's just so uncommon.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here. I've got 20/20 in both eyes, but right in here, I can't see shit.
Yeah. So you
So
saw when we were setting up for the meeting, I was wearing my glasses because if I was looking at text on the screen, I need my readers. But
yeah, I got a pair of readers there. Can't use my phone without them.
Yeah. I need them for the phone. Even when I've got the font turned way up on the phone.
And I've done that too. That was the first thing. I'm just gonna nope, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
But,
by the way, if you got 20/20, you've got me beat. I only have 20/30.
Oh well, the doctor was shocked. I was shocked.
Believe me. Believe me. 20/30 compared to what I used to have without glasses.
Oh God, yes. Yeah, and I've gotten used to
details on those mountains over there.
I'm seeing literally, and I've mentioned this to Juanita and a couple others. I'm seeing details in those mountains that I haven't seen in the almost 30 years I've been here.
Yeah, literally. All of a sudden, wow, there's a lot more to that mountain than I thought there was.
I got over the blue when I first got each eye done. Everything was like 8,000 Kelvin blue. If color grading means anything
I remember talking about that. Yeah.
And it's toned down. I still have, even now I couldn't go outside without the sunglasses.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
they say that'll go away or it won't. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's sunglasses. What are you bitching about? You know, basically, he didn't say those words, but that's what he meant.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people wear sunglasses for partly for that reason. You know, I'm not that sensitive to it, but when I'm going to be outside for an extended period of time, yeah, I've got a pair of shades that I throw on. Yeah, so it's for the same, much the same reason. It bothers you. You know what the big drawback for me is?
Mm.
You're gonna love this. It's. I used to have the luxury of acting or even speaking. I wouldn't wear my glasses because
Ah.
because the crowd just turns into this haze.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what's here. Now, damn it, I'm up there, and if I look out in the audience, I can recognize individual people. I don't like that. Even if I know they're sitting out there, I can't recognize them. It doesn't put me off. So I'm almost tempted to wear my readers, which might turn them back into a fog again.
It might, and then again, you could trip over the sofa and break your neck. But
There's that too, yeah. There's always drawbacks, but I mean, I've been experiencing and depending on that since high school in chorus when I would not wear my glasses during the when I was singing in the chorus because again I couldn't see the audience. It was just fun to hear them react after the song was over, but I couldn't see anybody, and I couldn't see like my family members out there watching.
especially them, yes.
Yeah, especially family and close friends, it
Mm-hmm.
can pull you off. But
That's why I don't do stage. No, there are
it's fun. It's fun on both sides of it, right? So.
well, and there are people who are literally amazed that I'm able to do this.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's a microphone right there, man.
And there's that little lit up dot on my PC here that
Yeah,
says it's staring at me too.
but well, admittedly, the first 3 or 4 interviews that I did when I started Merlin, I was somewhat under the influence.
No, you.
Yeah, me. But and that kind of
This
helped.
is
And
not
then
beer, by the way.
okay, bad carbs in beer, bad carbs.
No, well, a little bit depends on what you're drinking. You know,
Never developed a
most of
taste
the
for the stuff.
most of the calories are not from carbs; they're from alcohols.
Alcohol has calories.
Oh yeah,
Okay, new to me.
yep. It, molecularly, Mike, they're the same. They're carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. It's just different combinations.
Okay,
Same for sugars. Same for sugars. They're
I
all the
do
same
love
thing.
my sugar.
And your body tries to break them down into the same things, and that generally is what makes people fat from sugary and carb and alcoholic foods. So
Well, from my research, one of the absolute worst offenders is, and of course I'm going to go blank here. High fructose corn syrup,
oh yeah, yeah.
loaded with calories, and it doesn't register that you've taken any in by the body.
Nope, nope.
And that's just evil shit, man. I mean, come on, that's evil.
Well, and going back to making as much money as you possibly can,
Yes.
that's why everybody uses the high fructose corn syrup because it's much easier to use in big food processing plants
Mm-hmm.
than the dry stuff is. You got the dry stuff, you have to make it into a liquid first. Long ago, when I was working for a company that sold control systems for factories like that, we visited one customer in the Chicago area who it was a corn processing plant that literally went through railroad cars of corn every day in their processing. But the fun part was across the street was a Kraft Foods plant.
Okay.
And they literally literally had pipelines
I
from the
was going
corn
to ask
process
that.
across the street into the Kraft Foods
Mhm.
plant for high fructose corn syrup and corn oil.
It's cheaper than moving it any other way. Yeah.
They metered it just like
Yeah.
they do with moving gasoline around the country. They metered it coming out of the plant, and as long as there were no breaks in the line, that's how much they sent over to the Kraft factory, and they just billed them monthly based on the meters.
Yeah. It's an on-demand process. There's no
Yeah.
loading it into this, moving into that, moving it back.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
brilliant.
No bottling, no canning, nothing like that required. And it just flowed right into the food processing segment. So it was very, very cool arrangement for them.
It was.
But
I wonder which came first.
I don't know. I don't recall.
It's interesting either way. Kraft
Yeah.
Foods saying, "Man, we're going to build right next to these dudes because
Yeah. That may have been I mean, if the plant was already there, it would be a great location for anybody moving to food processing.
yeah, yeah."
So, yeah. The only other cool example like that I remember, and this goes way back to my childhood days in Chicago. My father worked for the U.S. Steel Corporation there, and he showed me a picture taken during the construction of the Chicago South Works, which was their big steel processing facility. And it was the picture was just of a pipe with a flange on the end of it,
Okay.
not yet connected up. And there was a man who my father said was every bit as tall as he was, and he was 6'3", standing in the pipe, and there were room for like 3 more people on top of it. I mean, just this mammoth pipe, and that was the pipeline feed for natural gas into the plant.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's huge, absolutely enormous pipe.
No
And
smoking zone.
same sort of thing. The gas company, obviously, just like gas for your home, the gas company meters it and bills on the meter.
Mm.
Yeah, tremendous stuff.
Ow. Okay. There, that's better. This helps quite a bit, but I'm looking forward to the other one.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll help.
I took a nap this afternoon and I woke up. I wore this for an hour and I woke up with 91%,
Mm-hmm.
which is not dangerous, but at rest with the nasal cannula, you should be higher than 91%.
You should have more of that. Yep.
Yeah, but
No question.
like I said, insurance company and a couple of my friends are like, you give them 1 week and then you call them every fucking day. Where's my CPAP? And I'm like, you know what? No, because there's some part of the process you just don't want to piss off.
No, and that you always run the risk of like when I first bought a house, I asked our real estate the agent that was helping us buy the house. Uh, you know, we got to the point where it was in the mortgage thing, and I called him up and said, I haven't heard anything about the mortgage. What do I do? And he says, don't do a damn thing. I said, why not? Because here's how it works. The mortgage processor has a pile of mortgage applications in front of them. And every day they bring more in and put them on top of the pile. So he takes them off at the bottom of the pile. If you call him, they'll sort through the pile and pull yours out and say, yeah, we've got it. We're working on it, and put it back on top of the pile.
Yeah.
You don't want that to happen with your
No.
CPAP either.
No, you really don't. As much as you like to, call and bitch and hey, but no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I would say, you got to give them a little bit of time.
Sure.
And
they'll get there eventually. I mean,
Yeah, and in this area, there aren't that many businesses servicing that market.
Right.
And they're all fairly small. So,
Mhm.
Like when I first got my CPAP, I was back in Minneapolis, and there were 5 huge businesses that had multiple warehouses throughout this area. Because you're serving you know, a metroplex that has
Oh, sure.
12 million people in it, a lot of them are going to have CPAPs. So, but out here, you know, there's still a fair number of people that have them, but not enough to, you know, have that kind of infrastructure for support out there. So,
And of
give them a
course,
little
there's
time.
more in the winter than there is in the summer, but
Yeah, yeah, that too, that too. But the ones in the winter pretty much bring their stuff down here.
yeah.
In fact, I know one. I know one person that does that, and he says, "Oh no, it doesn't matter when they're supposed to replace it. They replace it before I go out of town, before I leave for the winter, because you know." So he's actually forced them into a 6-month pattern around his winter travels.
What part is replaced? Just the mask?
It depends a bit on the equipment. Like what I've got right now has a replaceable hose, mask, and filter.
Okay.
So there's an intake filter that's just a cheap little crappy piece of foam. But you know, it helps keep rocks out of there. So the other thing I got, and this is probably not covered by insurance, and they're fairly pricey, but I got an amazing deal. Was one of those So Clean mask cleaner things.
Okay.
So it's really curious, but what it does is it ionizes the air inside the machine, inside itself, inside the So Clean machine, and your mask fits down in there where it's doing the ionization, and then once it's all ionized to a certain level, it starts pumping that through the mask into the CPAP and back again
Oh,
through a separate feedback port. And so for an extensive period of time, it runs ionized oxygen through your machine and kills bacteria that way,
mm-hmm.
instead of taking it and washing it every day, hanging it up to dry and hoping it dries by the time you
Yeah.
So which is something that all the CPAP providers say you've got to do daily,
Mm-hmm.
even though they absolutely know nobody does it daily.
Well, they're just covering their ass by, you got to do this.
Yes, yeah. Some of that is CYA, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, just it's a much better way to do it. But I think those So Clean systems retail for like $350. They're not cheap.
Well, yeah, but considering what it's doing,
Yeah.
especially if you're like sick, if you get a cold or something,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that'd be worth its weight in gold. I mean,
Yeah, and they're right. I mean, you're lying there with this thing hooked up to your nose, breathing out through your nose in it all night long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's going to create goop in there.
Yes, it is. Goop is a nice friendly word for what it's going to do.
Yeah, yeah. So, it makes sense. Yes, you have to clean them. I always found doing it daily to be too cumbersome and not really necessary, but weekly is too long too. So
Yeah.
I was happy to be offered this for really cheap, really really cheap, and and grabbed it, and it works as far as I can tell. It works great. I still, like, once a month I'll take the mask and the tube off and wash them by hand just to be sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't had any coughing fits or nasal congestion or anything like that out of the ordinary. So like I had when I was only doing it weekly.
Ow. Okay.
So the world's not perfect, but what the hell?
It's not?
No, haven't you noticed?
Apparently not.
Apparently, you've tuned out of all kinds of news sources if you haven't noticed the world is not perfect, because
as much as I don't want to go there, the news has been fascinating lately on many levels.
Some of it has been fascinating, some of it has been just downright dreadful.
Yes.
But it's actually a little bit about what I told you was bugging me when I said I wanted to do this. So if you don't mind, I have on right now over here on that side.
Mm-hmm.
I have on one of the best movies I've seen produced for quite a long time. The Martian. Did you guys see that by any chance?
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. It starts off with there's 6 astronauts, Martianauts, whatever, on Mars. It's the first manned expedition there, and they get hit by a mammoth sandstorm, windstorm, and have to bug out. During that process, one of them gets hit by debris and separated from the chain that's making its way back to what they call the MAV, which is Mars Ascent Vehicle.
Okay.
And they lose track of them. They can't make contact with them. There's no time for them to search for them for any length of time. They actually try to search for a while until it's getting to the point where the ascent vehicle is tipping like 10 degrees, and at 13 degrees it falls over.
Yeah.
And no more leaving.
Yeah.
So,
no leaving bad.
They have to hustle back and leave this guy behind, knowing that if he's not dead already, he will be. Okay. So, bad, things happen. So the fun part is he's not dead. He wakes up. He's able to get back to their habitat building, do some minor self-surgery on himself to remove the thing that went through his suit and his side, and part of an antenna. He gets rid of that, patches himself up and recovers, and then he sets to work trying to figure out, okay, how do I survive here alone with no communications, no, limited food. He had food. I think they said they had food for, I don't know, 130 Martian days for 6 people. So now he got it for only 1 person. But the next planned trip isn't for like 480 days or something like that. So he's going to run out of food. Got to do something about water, everything. Anyway, it's a brilliantly scientific film. They really did their work on the science of how do you get to Mars, how do you get back from Mars. They have NASA has already sent up, like they've already got the crew supplies that for the next mission have already been dropped on Mars. So they're sitting waiting to where they expect the next manned mission to go to. And then they'll pick up the one that's on there, supposedly the one that had to board. So it's beautifully done. And there's one scene in this that I just absolutely love, where with this one woman that's working an overnight shift in the control center, and of course, all they're supposedly paying attention to at that point is the ship that's coming back. Is it okay? Is it functioning right? No problems going on there. But she's also looking from time to time at Mars to see if there's anything, any trouble at any of the sites they're interested in or anything like that. They kind of imply they've got several things going on Mars, just most of it's automated. So she looks at their landing site and she sees that, wait a minute, that rover moves from this position to this position. And the solar cells have been brushed off and they're all clean now. And, wait a minute, the only conclusion is that the guy that got left behind is actually alive and he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
So she calls in the boss, she calls in her boss, he calls in his boss, the director of NASA. And so there's 4 people looking at it, and one of them is a woman you haven't seen much of in the film yet. But she's the director of communications. And so they're talking about it and saying, what can we do? What can't we do? And at some point, somebody says, how long do we have before we have to tell the world about this? And the director speaks up and says, well, legally, we have to release these photos within 24 hours of our getting them. And they start to say, wow, what can we do in 24 hours? And she says, wait, you can't do any of that. She says, do you realize the shit show that is about to hit us? I mean, what are we going to say? She says, what are we going to say? Hey, everybody, that astronaut that we told you got killed on Mars, and we're really sorry and too bad. Well, our bad, he's alive.
Yeah.
And you can imagine, but what I like about that scene is it illustrates so strongly the fact that no matter how good you are, how good your planning is, how good you are with science, how much you understand the mechanics and the effort and the technology necessary to get from here to Mars and back, you can still make mistakes. Things can still go wrong, and whatever you thought was going to happen may not happen. And I hear talking about the news again, I see so many people talking about things that deal with science. The biggest one right now probably being the Wuhan lab leak or not, that don't understand the science of all of it. They have no idea what they're talking about, but they're on TV telling you about it or writing in newspapers telling you about it. And it bothers the hell out of me, especially since I know from some personal experience that science education in our schools today sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, and I substitute taught science at the junior high school level for parts of 2 years. And I would say in that time, I probably had maybe a dozen students who were serious about learning the science. I mean, it's that horrible. So, and yet they're being passed through our school system like everything's fine. So, I hope college hasn't gotten that bad. I really do. But
yeah, that would just be sad.
yeah.
We are telling Brian that grade school to high school is going to be a bit of a rude awakening. And once you get over that, when you get to college, for the most part, they're going to say, read the next 5 chapters by tomorrow and understand it.
Yeah.
We're going to have a test.
And there'll be a test. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's some of that. And also, but what gets me is a lot of these people are talking about science, but they don't even have the real grasp of the difference between a concept, a proposal, a theory, and a law.
Yeah.
And they don't understand also that even stuff that makes it in the law, like Newton's laws of energy and motion and gravity, right? We know now they're not laws.
Yeah.
They've been supplanted by other things because we've learned more. We've learned that Newton's laws of motion don't work at relativistic speeds, at speeds near the speed of light. And his notions of energy transfer break down completely when you get down to the subatomic level. But they work very well in the macro world that we live in. If you want, I mean, our engineers can sit down and design a vehicle, with specifications to go, 0 to 60 miles an hour in X seconds and have fuel economy of Y, and they can meet those goals because they understand the science that lets them do that. But even that science is imperfect and things can change. I heard read the greatest thing online a while ago, and it was posted. I don't think it was original to him, but it was posted by Neil deGrasse Tyson. You know who he is?
Oh, yes.
And he posted this thing that says, "There is no time." Basically, scientists literally are taking the position now that time does not exist. It is a construct of the human mind.
Okay.
It is human beings observing changes like sunrise, sunset, sunrising, and saying, okay, well, it took the same amount of time to do that yesterday as it took today. And I'm going to bet that it's going to take the same amount of time tomorrow for the sun to rise. So it's us assigning a period of time to events and then working eventually to standardize those measurements and finding out that when standardize those measurements amongst other measurements, then everybody can communicate better and talk on the same page if you understand the math. But just that concept, there's no such thing as time. I saw another one a while ago that said, you're going to love this one. There's no such thing as color, Mike. color is our brain's interpretation of what our eye retina does when it's struck by different wavelengths of light.
Okay, yes, you're right.
So they're taking these new positions, and those things aggravate the whole thing. If there's no time, then maybe it doesn't matter that we're 28 million light years away from that star. Maybe we can still get there, without having to worry about the fact that if I tried to walk that distance, it'd take me, a gazillion years. So, or the fact that our fastest spacecraft that we've ever designed yet would still take, over 28,000 years to get there because we can't go faster than the speed of light. Well, maybe we can. We'll just ignore time. So it's fascinating areas of study. And what non-scientists, the people that haven't studied science and stuck to it closely think, they don't understand that it's always in flux. We always admit that there could be an error. We always expect that something new can come along and supplant what we've always thought was true.
Yes, that's the whole basis of science. This is the way we understand it now.
Right.
And, I mean, we thought the earth was flat.
Right. Yeah.
Well, many did.
The concept of a global earth goes back way farther than most people think. There's very, very, very good evidence that ancient Arabian scholars understood full well the earth was round.
They were so far ahead of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Math, science, astronomy.
Yeah.
They had coffee.
They had a few they had a few little tricks, two of them in particular, 0 and the decimal point, that really, really helped them. Yeah. But I mean, look, I don't understand honestly how the Greek and Roman scientists designed some of the stuff they designed without having 0. I just really don't get that. But you look at their numbering systems. There were no zeros. There were no fractions.
Yeah.
Yet still, they made things work.
And amazingly well, much of it. Now, when I was rather young, I don't know, I used to think about weird shit. I don't, that's shocking, I know. But I was thinking one day, when I experience blue, are you experiencing the same thing? Or have we just agreed to call what we experience when we experience that blue? And, still don't have an answer.
Well, I mean, that almost goes towards Sartre and, I think, therefore I am.
Yeah.
And Plato to an extent, saying, look, we all agree that this is a table. It may not be what you think of as the perfect table, but it's a table, and I agree it's a table, you agree it's a table, so that's a table. And there is some of that. I mean, but I think that, I don't know nearly enough about the complexity of vision and the brain to know for sure, but I'd be reasonably willing to bet that there have been studies addressing that, putting a blue thing in front of 100 people and measuring their brain reaction to it. Hey, look, the brain reacts the same way to that, and have all these different people. So,
I may have to look it up when I've got nothing better to do.
That was another. Speaking of that, that was another fascinating thing I saw a little while ago. Was that some scientists are now asserting that the eye is actually part of the brain. It's not a separate organ from the brain. It's actually extraordinarily specialized brain cells and an extraordinarily specialized piece of the body.
I could believe that.
But they're basically saying the retina, at least, is basically brain cells that are directly attached into the parts of the brain that interpret their signals. So, I mean, whoa, that blows me. Really? I'm wearing my brain right out here where everybody can see it?
They cut off my brain.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, it's those kinds of, and you think back on it, and think back to, when James Watt was working on the steam engine. I'm sure everybody thought he was freaking nuts. You know,
Yeah,
um, both that A, he would ever get it to do anything constructive whatsoever, and B, that it would just revolutionize
everything.
manufacturing and
Yep.
transportation and, yeah, household heating and air conditioning and everything else that you trace back.
Agriculture.
Yeah, yeah. There's a great book that I have that I've loaned out to people a couple of times, but if you can find a copy of it or get a copy online, it's called Connections by James Burke.
Okay.
It was made into a PBS series a long time ago. And he basically does that. He takes one invention and or traces everything that came out of it, or he takes one thing today and traces it back to an invention that you wouldn't think had anything to do.
Well, that's
Like,
fascinating.
yeah, it is. He traces the pathway of science development through history, and
Hmm.
it's fascinating to
What was the
look
name
at.
of it again?
Connections.
Connections.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That is written down, and I'm going to look for it
Well,
because
if you can't find it easily, I'll loan you my copy, but
thank you.
I'll make you, give me a blood promise to return it.
Yeah, there's
He
a
actually
couple.
wrote he actually wrote a follow-on book, and it's in much the same thing, but I've never bothered to buy it because he wrote the book after he wrote the second series for PBS, and oh no, it wasn't. He wrote it for PBS, but it wasn't. PBS didn't want to produce it, so he had to sell it to a cable channel, and he had to chop it up into 15-minute segments so they could run their commercial story.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Okay.
And it just didn't run as good by any means. But it's a fascinating read. It's a good thing to check out.
Yeah, I got
Let me
two
know if you
books
want
that I'll
to.
never lend out again.
What was that?
I got two books I'll never lend out again because I bought too damn many copies.
Were they offered by someone with the initials RH?
One of them was,
Okay, well I got them.
and which one of his books? Of course, you know that one because,
Yeah.
like, my favorite book, period. Stranger
Yes.
Ridge Lake.
Yeah.
And one day
It's
we'll
a
actually get a
phenomenal book.
movie.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal book. I know he was always opposed to making movies out of his books. Obviously, they made a book out of Starship Troopers and just destroyed it.
They did the Puppet Masters too. Made a movie out of it.
Puppet Masters, Puppet Masters, they've done a couple of times, and
Yeah.
that's strayed a long ways from the book and the philosophy of the book. Um, but yeah, there are several of his books I'd love to see movies made out of. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress is way up
Barnham.
there. Yeah, Farnham's
Barnham.
Field, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And going back into his earlier works, what is the name of that one? I had it in my head just a minute ago. I'll describe it to you. You'll know the title. The one about the guy who he's a it's kind of a plight. He's a Vietnam War vet, and he gets sucked into this amazing, like, alternate universe like reality where he learns sword fighting, or he already knew fencing, so he goes sword fighting, and they go jumping from gateway to gateway, trying to
Number of the
get an
Beast.
egg back. Huh?
Is that Number of the
Number of
Beast?
the It's either Number of the Beast or the one that came right before that. So it's a great action adventure type story, and I've wanted to, if I had the time and the resources, I would try developing that as an animated movie,
Okay.
because some of the, I mean, it's going to be all CGI anyway.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. Unlike Moon is a Harsh Mistress, we
Yeah.
know how to do Moon movies pretty well now. So that one you could do with more of a straight stage set.
Well,
but this one would be all CGI. So just go ahead and make it all CGI and make it made an animation. It'd be a great show.
the thing about Number of the Beast that amazed me when I first read it, every chapter they float perspectives.
Yeah, yeah,
And the third chapter, I'm like, the fuck's going on here? I went back and I read it again. I'm like, oh yeah, and it rotates through the primary characters and then starts again.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
mind fuck.
But now you see movies being
Yeah,
presented that way. Also, there was a there have been several examples of that kind of back and forth time warp movie and stuff like that, or even the final two episodes of Star Trek Next Generation were that way.
I
Uh,
didn't get to the end of that one.
the last two, the two-part finale for the entire series
Mm-hmm.
was built around Q uh, visiting Picard in three different timelines, and Picard's and he's actually like it's testing Picard to see if he can resolve this problem that's spanning across the universe
Oh wow.
and across basically all time that he has to solve, or bad things will happen. I won't ruin it for you. So,
Well, I
but
didn't.
it was Picard. I mean, it was things like Picard would you know walk into a turbo lift, right, and the scene would change. He'd be on a different Starship Enterprise,
Okay.
or a different version of the Enterprise. The one 8 years ago and the one 20 years in the future. It's just so, and him moving back and forth like that all the time. It's pretty interesting.
Let's see. I watched the very first episode of The Next Generation, and I slammed my TV off
Really?
and refused to watch it for years.
Mm. It
I
it
just
was.
I
Go
wasn't
ahead.
ready for a non-Kirk captain, a non-aggressive captain. Okay, man, we surrender. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh
The
no, I was
uh,
bent.
well, I don't blame you entirely, and uh, uh, I it's unfortunate that the first season of Star Trek Next Generation is all basically it's very muddled, and I mean there's a couple of shows in that season that are just straight rewrites of original Star Trek shows.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's some very, very uneven and very heavy-handed handling of some subjects and stuff like that. But and that continued a little bit into the second season, but towards the middle of the second season and on, it really became a very nicely crafted show. And they again dealt with some science in some very mature ways for
Once
that
I
kind of
got
show.
over that,
At that time. Yeah.
it was in syndication by the time I got through much of it, or too much of it, and it wasn't in order. And
Yeah.
when the gods gave us Roku boxes and on-demand TV, I
Yeah.
got through almost all of it.
Yeah. Yeah. They there are episodes of Next Generation that unless I have absolutely nothing else to do, I won't watch. Even though I'm a big fan of the show, because there's some of them that are just garbage. Um, but there are others that are very good. They have an outstanding episode that when they find this and they find this system that has two occupied planets in it. And the occupants of one planet have developed a drug that they've hooked the entire population of the other world on.
Yep.
But they're presenting it as a cure for a disease that everyone over there gets from from their planet. And the moral dilemma that puts Picard in, where
Yeah, Prime Directive versus Prime Directive.
yeah, they're just slammed between a strict conflict there that they and the way he finds to get out of it, just brilliantly written.
An
And they've done a
extraordinary
couple of
character.
yeah, yeah. they've done a couple of them dealing with time very nicely too. Although I think the Star Trek that dealt with time best, honestly, and I know people really hate it, but oh God, I can't remember the name of it. The one with the woman captain,
Voyager.
Star Trek Voyager. Um, they had one. I think it was a season ending and opening, two-parter that dealt with a guy who was doing his damnedest with his time ship to put his world back together. That he had done something in the past, with the time ship that destroyed his civilization and let another one take over. And he was trying very, very hard to get back to that, to where he was, especially where his family was still alive and all of that. But the havoc he was wreaking on the universe,
the current, and yeah,
in the time being, God, stop this shit, So that was a fascinating exploration of time and time travel and what can go wrong there. So they've done some good stuff on that and other programs. When they pay attention and actually think about what's the actual science. Yeah.
Well, it's like, okay, the very first of the Alien series, was it Alien?
Yeah.
Was the first one?
The first one was just Alien, and then
5 minutes into it, I'm like, well, there's where you fucked up. And the whole rest of the franchise is based on that one fuck up.
Yeah. And there's other things. There's like this series that just concluded. I think it's on the Sci-Fi Channel, but it's The Ark, and
You told me about that.
Yeah, the Ark, the first Ark one is, it starts with Ark 1 leaving Earth, going off to a far distant planet to, spread the human race out because Earth is in dire, devastating trouble. But the first season just ended, and I had the same reaction. They're going through this thing, and I'm going, oh, no, wait a minute, that's not right. But setting that aside, the ending was pretty good. But it's the exact same sort of thing. That, wait a minute, that wouldn't be the way it would happen in the closed environment of this spaceship. But interesting there that decades apart in their production, but what are they using to make this trip? They're using faster than light travel, which creates a warp bubble around the ship. And it's exactly the same concept that Roddenberry latched onto for Star Trek. So
it's some science. It's not perfect science, but it's some science.
It's not perfect science at all, but it's still probably the leading theory. There's either that or the Einstein-Rosen bridge wormhole. Yeah. Those are the two that are vying for ways to get from here to there where we can't do that today.
And neither one of us will see either one of them as a reality, I don't believe.
Well, unless something truly fantastical happens.
And they come back and visit us?
Well, somebody coming here and saying, oh, here's how you do that.
Yeah.
But, the neither of them has shown any real possibility of becoming a reality anytime soon. But that's another thing non-scientist people don't understand. Scientists are perfectly happy living with, well, yeah, maybe it works. I don't know.
Yeah. No, well, shit, I was wrong.
Here's the best, very recent demonstration of that. People are screaming about the government and Pfizer and Moderna forcing everyone to get basic experimental medical treatment.
Yes.
On a worldwide basis. But I keep telling people, when I talk to them one-on-one, I like to tell people, I said, nobody told you, nobody ever said that would be 100% safe or 100% effective. Yep. Nobody made any of those claims. Nobody's ever claimed that about any vaccine, or for that matter, any drug, period. That's why you get prescriptions these days with little pamphlets in them,
They're fucking
written
novels.
written in them in 6-point type, so they can put it on one piece of paper and fold it up. That has all this, we don't know if this works or not. Disclaimer type stuff in it, but I look back at them. I look back at where I was at the time. Judy and I huddled in our home and afraid to go out and buy groceries.
Yeah.
Because this contagion was ravaging around the planet, and people were going to the hospital in droves and dying from it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do something, and those were the best chances we had.
Yeah.
It wasn't new technology. mRNA technology has been around for a couple of decades.
Yeah.
They made leaps and bounds in improving how to do it, and they finally, said, "Look, we know we haven't, had time to put something out and go through all the FDA rigmarole and testing and, 5 years to prove whether or not it works or not. But we can bring you something in 8 months that will work. We're confident in that." And you had 2 separate pharmaceutical companies saying that. Yeah. Okay.
And that, even for what they, it was insanely fast.
Yes.
All
it was
things
insanely
considered.
fast to develop something from scratch. Yeah. And so all right, even if you say that what it was really was the world's largest blind trial of a new drug.
Okay.
Okay. And yes, there have been some consequences of it. And yes, what happened to me, my cardiologist will not rule out the possibility that the vaccination was part of it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Because there are trickles of information here and there that, seniors who got that medication, some of them are having heart problems. So I may be one of them. But the alternative of living another 3 years shuttered in our home was not a good one. So, and you look at all the stories about the damage that the shutdowns have done to our productivity, our capability to produce stuff, and the education of our kids. I mean, I think it was well worth the risk.
Well, yeah, even just me personally, it killed my business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And then shortly thereafter, I found out that I can't do that shit anyhow. So, whatever.
But not just your business, but hundreds of thousands of small businesses.
Yeah, just gone. And but there's a new Omicron variant. I was listening to a report with Juanita earlier today, and it's not it doesn't sound like any of the others, but one of the effects or signs or whatever you care to call it is conjunctivitis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's kind of weird. I mean, I get a respiratory infection, it gives me pink eye. But hey, man,
there's some close quarters up in there, but
yeah, and it's all brain anyhow. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, it just there's so much of that going on, and I don't want to get into all the political crap. We could go on about that for about 10
days. Because I don't do it on any of these shows, but I am highly politically opinionated, which is probably one of the reasons why I really shouldn't do it on these shows.
No. One thing I've learned is that spreading your political opinions is nearly as bad as spreading your theological opinions.
Yes.
Without to an unknown audience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not something that should be broadcast. And I will tell you that I live in a house divided. Judy and I are on very separate sides of many questions, but even with that, there's a hell of a lot that we actually agree on.
Sure.
And that's where I've been thinking. Have you heard about this group called the No Labels Party?
No.
It's not actually a political party yet, but they have organized in a number of states, and they're trying to spread through the states. And basically, they're at the core of it. They're calling it no labels because they're not calling themselves conservative nor liberal. They're not calling themselves pro this or pro that. They're avoiding all of that. But they're kind of trying to find, you know, what they're trying to do is capture the huge middle ground that's neither far left nor far right.
Okay.
Even though the far left and the far right are dominating all the conversation.
Lord.
So they're trying to find people who will support. Let's have a conversation about the vast middle, and get that fixed.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, if we have time to worry about these far out issues, we can worry about them later. You know, you have to realize. I think if you're a politician, you have to realize that you're never, you know, you're never going to appease the people on the far outsides of the political spectrum.
No.
So especially when they keep coming up with something even farther right to go to, or farther left to go to. That's
Eventually, it's going to be a circle, and it'll start overlapping each other.
Yeah, you know, actually, I read a long time ago that the political mindsets or theories are actually an XY grid.
Okay.
And you talk about becoming a circle. If they said communism goes one way on the x-axis, and Nazism
Okay.
goes the opposite way. Nazi is actually a far left position. Yeah, it really is.
Okay.
It's socialist ownership of everything, state ownership of everything.
Okay.
So not Stalinism and communism is state control of everything. And they actually say if you bend those two far left all the way out to their absolute extremes, they actually merge together again.
I believe it.
And then the other axis was, I can't remember what they talked the other axis, but they actually said you actually should locate if you take this little test they developed, you actually landed somewhere in that circle,
Okay.
in the field of possibilities there. And that recognizes that people like Judy and I, we get along fine, even though one of us is way left and one of us is way right on certain issues. But there's so much in the middle that we agree on that we're both, you know, toward that center axis, really. So.
And all this being said, I'm going to put my hippie ass in bed for an hour.
Well, I think that would be a good thing for you to do. Thanks for the chat.
And thank you. It's always a pleasure, and we should do this again because there's only about 15 million things we didn't touch on that we could have.
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite subjects. Do you know what the difference between playing a slot machine over there in Laughlin and buying car insurance is?
No.
There's no fucking difference at all. They're both rigged bets.
Okay, they are. Yep.
And for everybody or anybody who's listening to this that doesn't understand that, maybe we can talk about that one. So.
Okay. Life in casino towns, man.
Yeah.
Alrighty, my friend. I'm gonna wrap this up, and I will talk to you again soon.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Okay, you too, man. Bye-bye.